Hi, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to Screen Share. My name's Cummy Bummy, and on this.
You're all slack, you fucking moron.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Screen Share, a movie podcast about getting persecuted against in feudal Japan.
Can I give you what I thought what mine would be?
Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome back to movie
Codcast?
Hold on, shut the
Sorry.
fuck up. Hey everybody, and welcome back to a movie podcast about getting really quiet. Do you think that would pick up?
Getting really quiet.
Being real silent.
A movie podcast about...
Silence. I don't think any of that's picking up.
No.
How are you?
I'm good. It's your boy, Adam Cook, and I'm joined here by... You didn't like that one? You didn't like It's Your Boy? This whole intro's kind of been shit.
Yeah, you're really like, and I felt this, and I'm Calder, and I felt this when I came in last night.
Yeah.
You're kind of in your Hillary Clinton era.
What does that mean?
The haircut, the outfit. You're wearing a lot of power suits recently.
I'm wearing about the same thing I've worn for the past 23 years.
I like, it's weird, but I came into the apartment and he's got this thing going on his phone, and I was like, what's that? What are you doing on your phone there? And he said, I'm playing Pokemon Go to the polls.
Yeah, everything you've said has been wrong thus far. I do like the Pokemon Go to the polls bit.
Can you add a rim shot in after my joke?
Sure.
But don't put that in, put a real one in.
So we watched Silence.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I should say first of all, this is the first episode in the month of Adam Driver movies.
Mm-hmm.
If you have listened to even a single episode of the podcast, you know we like Adam Driver.
Mm-hmm. We recast him in every movie.
Yeah. So we were like, let's do an Adam Driver month. I say we still do the recasting just of like a non-Adam Driver character.
Yeah, for this one it's kind of easy, but
yeah. Yeah, he's not really he's a side character. He's second
well, he's in like the first 40 or 50 minutes.
Yeah.
But he's kind of the only other like white guy that they can advertise the movie with aside from Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
But you don't see Liam Neeson really until like the last.
Yeah, Liam Neeson's the main guy on the poster. He's in it for maybe a total of 6-7 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's a long movie. It's almost 3 hours long.
Yeah, which I did not know, and I'd never seen this before. You hadn't.
I had not seen it either.
So
I didn't even really know what it was about. I just knew it was about like something religious based. We're really hitting all the big topics this month. We got religion, then we've got racism, and then we've got divorce, and then we've got dinosaurs. We're kind of hitting all the big controversial topics. And I think
the most controversial one, this might be surprising, will be the dinosaur one. Because neither of us really truly believe in them.
Yeah, the reason we're going with the movie 65, which is in theaters now.
Good ad.
Sponsored by, not actually sponsored by.
My bank account's not going up. Beep that out.
What, that your bank account's not going up?
No, that you just sponsored 65.
Oh, okay. But like
SpawnCon.
the reason we're doing 65 as the last episode of the month is because we do think that after we do that episode, our listener base is going to plummet because people are going to realize that we're dino bigots.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, after that episode, we're kind of only doing dinosaurs from now on.
Yeah. Then we're doing Jurassic Park, then Land Before Time,
and
then
Jurassic
the movie
World,
Dinosaur.
Then the movie Dinosaur, The Good Dinosaur.
The Good Dinosaur, of course.
What else has dinosaurs?
Any movie with Anthony Hopkins in it.
What's that one where, like, they were real, maybe, and it was maybe a kid's TV show, and they were puppets?
Dragon Tales? So the movie Silence is directed by Martin Scorsese.
Yeah. This is our first Scorsese movie, which is a very strange first one for us.
Yeah, because it's not like almost any of his other movies, I don't think.
There's only like maybe 6 shots in the movie where I'm like, oh, there's the Scorsese DNA.
Yeah,
where he like moves and pushes in and like has that sort of motion in it.
Yeah, the movie is like very
still.
Very still. There's not a lot of movement. Almost every shot is a still shot. Yeah. And also I realized after I finished the movie, there's almost no music in it at all.
Oh yeah, like there is a score, but like
yeah,
I couldn't tell you what the score for Silence sounds like.
I couldn't even name a scene where music was going on, because even when there was music, it was very background.
Was there music?
Well, when I was doing research, there was a composer for the movie, but like, I think maybe there might have been for some of the narration bits.
Oh,
but
yeah.
even that
maybe at the end when they're talking about the Dutch stuff.
Oh yeah, maybe when they're like wrapping
maybe
up
there's
the movie.
music, but like it's not like The Social Network where you like feel the score.
Yeah, it was very much. This is a very, I was gonna say dialogue heavy movie. I guess technically it is, but it's mostly just an acting heavy movie.
Yeah,
where it's a lot of.
It's literally just an Andrew Garfield showcase.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is weird for it to be in our Adam Driver month.
Well, when we were talking, because we were debating doing different actors, we just wanted to highlight one actor or actress for an entire month. And Andrew Garfield was one of the ones that I thought of, but we were like, he doesn't really have enough like iconic movies, I don't think. I guess it would be this, Hacksaw Ridge, and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Maybe.
There's some other thing that we're probably forgetting in there.
Sure.
But he's in The Social Network. We'd probably do that.
Oh, yeah.
He's good in that.
But we chose this for Adam Driver. He, honestly, if the movie was shorter, this would make more sense as an Adam Driver movie. Like, if this movie was like 2 hours and he's in 45 minutes of it, that makes a bit more sense.
Yeah. But he's in 45 minutes of 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah. But, and we'll get into Adam Driver a bit later. But yeah, this was directed by Martin Scorsese. The budget was $50 million, and it made $23.8 million. But it was also a limited run in theaters.
Yeah, it's like one of those weird things where
this movie wasn't made to make.
It's
money,
honestly
really.
kind of like a blank check, which is a bit of a reference to a podcast I listen to, but like where a director kind of gets to make the crazy thing he's been trying to make for like years.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. He was trying to make this movie for a long time.
Since like 1989. That's what I have. He read the book in 89.
Yeah.
He
initially started production in 2009.
But like he also kind of like started working on it in 92.
Yeah.
Which is like he would have made it at any point, like even before 2009. 2009 was like the closest the closest he got without making it to making it.
Yeah.
But if in like 95 they were like, oh, time to make Silence, he would have made it then.
Sure, yeah. And while doing my research, I found out basically he was like, I'm going to make Silence. And then he kind of put it on the back burner, made some other movies, and then was like, okay, Silence is the next one, I promise. And then he made Wolf of Wall Street. And then he was like, okay, Silence is actually the next one.
I wrote down all the movies he made between beginning, like initial development.
Okay.
So like that 92 year or
That's
whenever
good.
it was. So it was Goodfellas, Cape Fear, Age of Innocence, Casino, Kundun, Bringing Out the Dead, Gangs of New York, The Aviator, The Departed, Shutter Island, Hugo, and Wolf of Wall Street. And then since this was in 2016, he made The Irishman in 2019, and he's got Killers of the Flower Moon coming out this year.
Yeah.
So like a large chunk of his filmography has been since he read this book and thought about making it into a movie.
Yeah.
And
Now,
most of his most iconic movies are after that, aside from like Raging Bull.
Yeah. Since we're talking about the book, let's say so the book is written by, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Shusaku Endo's novel was what it was based on.
Yes.
But there was actually a 1971 film.
Yeah,
that was also
that
based
came
on
up
the
a couple
novel.
times when I Googled it.
Yeah. Directed by Masahiro Shinoda. And I don't know anything about that movie. I'd actually be interested to watch it to see how similar it is to this.
I think it's also long, so I'd assume it's pretty similar.
I feel like the weird thing about this movie is there's not like a lot going on, but you can't really like it kind of needs to be long because it's kind of the nature of the subject matter is that they're kind of just prolonging the suffering of these people.
The subject matter is like these two monks, Jesuit monks,
Yeah.
Adam Driver and Andrew Garfield, are going to look for their former, like, I don't know what the technical term is, but they're like former teacher, former priest, Ferrara, played by Liam Neeson, who's not even trying to do an accent, even though he's supposed to be Portuguese.
No, he's just fully Irish.
Literally talking like Qui-Gon Jinn. But throughout that time, there's like persecution in Japan of Christians. They're trying to convert people to become Buddhists, kill off Christianity. Yeah. So you're kind of just going through all the suffering. You kind of just like really just follow Andrew Garfield through this like quest to maybe nothing.
Yeah, the whole movie is basically like a challenge of his character.
Yeah.
Like challenge after challenge, and sometimes he rises above, sometimes he crumbles, but even when he rises above, then the response is just to make him crumble.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of just breaking him down over time.
And we should say the novel is historical fiction. So like I don't know if this is, you could say like this is a true story, but it's like based on stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know if like these characters are real.
Yeah. I think like the events that are going on did happen.
Yeah.
The actual individual
Story.
characters are probably just
which
based
is also
on
kind
figures.
of a theme for this year or this month. Fuck me.
What, being kind of based on real life? Oh
'Cause
yeah,
even
because
BlacKkKlansman
Noah Baumbach kind of based Marriage Story off of a relationship he
and
had.
65.
And 65 is based. Well, that one's
That's
not
actually
fiction.
well, I mean, don't say that. Obviously, it is fiction because there's dinosaurs in it, and dinosaurs are fucking bullshit. We all know this.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they kind of replaced an alien species with dinosaurs for the movie.
Yeah,
but that did happen.
It's like we all know dinosaurs were around 65 million years ago. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah,
but it's more of like a plot thing. It's like unicorns. Everyone knows about unicorns, so we're gonna put them in the movie.
Yeah,
but dinosaurs don't exist, and they never have.
Yeah,
and the bones are fake.
Well,
and
yeah,
the bones,
they've been putting
because
them
the
there.
bones are their money,
and so are the worms.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this movie, we've been making too many 65 jokes in the Silence episode. We gotta save
It's
some.
gonna keep going.
But so Martin Scorsese basically, when asked what the film is about, said it's about the necessity of belief fighting the voice of experience, which I don't fully understand on first hearing that, but I guess it's just about like the like daimyos and the Inquisitor who he meets, like they don't hate him.
No,
They don't want to kill these people.
and because if they did, they would literally just be cutting Christians' heads off left and right. Like they're giving them an out. They're not even saying you don't have to not believe. They're like,
Well, yeah, at the beginning it seems like they're like, step on Jesus to like
or we're gonna kill you.
apostatize like your faith.
Yeah,
But near the end, it's just like, just step on the
like it's fine.
image. Like it, they literally say over and over that it's just a formality.
Yeah.
So it's clear that they're at the point where it's like, come on, guys, we don't want to keep doing this to you. And they like keep saying like, you are causing the suffering of these people, not us for like doing it. You're causing it by making us do this, which is like, they're not right.
No,
But also you kind of get the sense that they are, it's the, I'm sorry, I'm trying to like explain Scorsese's quote. They have the experience of observing Japan over decades and decades and hundreds of years and knowing all the history and how people work and how the culture is.
yeah,
And then Andrew Garfield comes in with his faith and his belief. And some other people also believe, but it's kind of against this impossible beast, which is
like the whole
the
Japanese
entirety of
empire
Japan.
at the time.
Yeah.
And I think like the movie really kind of unlocked for me, like kind of at the midpoint, when there's some line about like Garfield's, it's like voiceover, and it's about like the silence of God.
Yeah.
So like he's going through all these experiences, and he has this devotion and like hope, and like he has all these beliefs.
Yeah.
And he's constantly crying out, and all these people are constantly crying out to God, or
Yeah.
but it's just silent.
Yeah.
Like they're not getting anything back, but
And you slowly get a little bit of that from him, where he's like, I feel like I'm not hearing you.
Yeah.
Like I'm starting to wonder.
and at the end when like Liam Neeson is, we're kind of just jumping around and probably going to spoil
That's
it. But it's also like kind of unspoilable in a way.
I mean, I operate under the assumption that with each of these podcasts, we
You've
assume
watched
that
it.
they've seen it.
Yeah.
Even if they haven't, we assume they've seen it.
But at the end when Neeson is like confronting him, and he's like, I cried out to God all these times and he never answered, and like Neeson's a lot more jaded.
Yeah.
But you can also feel like he still is kind of a Christian. Like he even has that slip up where he says our God.
Yeah.
But he's like so jaded where he's like, I can step on this, maybe still believe, but it's going to end suffering for these people. And like he's also, it's so interesting because he's also talking about how Garfield sees himself as like a martyr figure.
Yeah.
And he's like built himself up into a sort of bigger hero or person, which maybe he hasn't done, but it kind of feels like he's going through all of this and being so stubborn. Like, not that it's wrong. Like, I'm not saying any of this is wrong, but like the way the Garfield character doesn't want to do these things for his faith in the face of being like seeing all this torture and like in many ways causing deaths.
Yeah.
Is him seeing himself as this holy figure that like if he keeps his faith, everything will get figured out. But that's not really how this is going to go.
Yeah. Well, and like both Adam Driver and Andrew Garfield's characters multiple times like talk about like take me, kill me.
Yeah.
Like do what you're doing to them to me. But the Inquisitor multiple times is like, that's not the point. If we kill you, you're a martyr. But
Yeah.
like they know that. That's why they want them to take them instead. But that's kind of the trouble of the movie is
the success for the Japanese Empire comes in breaking these priests to
Yeah.
not be Christian anymore.
yeah.
Not by having them die.
Well, yeah, we see the most torture methods I've ever seen in a movie. In this movie, there's like 12 different torture methods.
Some of them are pretty creative too.
Yeah, and some and all of them horrible. But like Andrew Garfield doesn't get any of those torture methods, but he's arguably in a way the most tortured.
Yeah.
Because his torture is keeping him alive and
Yeah.
making him watch all of these things happen. Like especially near the end of the movie when he's like kind of at the point where he's given up all hope, he's kind of starting to go crazy in his cell, and he's like he yells to make some guy stop like
Moaning.
wheezing.
Yeah.
And he's like yelling, and then one of the guards comes over and is like, "What?" And he's like, "Make that guy stop wheezing."
And the guards snore, and
the
he's
guard's
not
snoring.
doing anything.
Yeah, and he's like, "It's not the guard. We've got 5 Christians in the pit
Because of you.
because of you. You put them there."
Yeah.
And that's when he finally like
Dude, the
apostatizes
fucking
them.
pit, man. Oh my
Dude,
god.
because I was like, "Oh, hanging on your head upside down, that sucks. All the blood would rush to your head." Then they're like, "Oh no, they make an incision in your neck so that the blood slowly drips
Well, 'cause
out
then you
so
die.
you don't die." It was like I don't know, man. All of the torture. Every time they'd show a torture method, I'd be like, "Oh, that's worse than the last one."
like the hot water, they open with the hot water thing where
Yeah.
they'll like dump little like hot springs on people.
Yeah,
Which are like either boiling or close to boiling.
yeah,
And then they do the one where what's the next one?
they do the
kinda
one
wrote
where
them down.
they're on the cross in the water, so
That
they
one's
slowly
horrible.
like.
As the tide comes in, they start drowning.
Yeah. But it was what was it? I got to get the character's name right cuz he was one of my favorite characters. Mokichi in the first village that they go to. How I think it was Ikizo was the old man and he died almost immediately. Like he got hit
he's
with
just
like
too
3
weak to
waves
deal
and he
with it.
died.
Yeah.
The other guy we don't really see, but it's clear that he died after a few hours. But Mokichi stays there for 4 days.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know. And that they emphasize that they make the villagers watch these
so they have
Christians
to watch it for 4
not
days.
get a Christian burial.
Mm-hmm.
And like
they put their, what do they, grind their bones up or something and throw them into the ocean so they can't even like do anything with the bones.
Yeah. It's like
because the bones are their money.
And so are the worms. But like every single thing that they do is like they're thinking of every possible step to make them not able to follow through with their faith.
Yeah. It's like the most creative way. They're just so creative about it, which sounds like a positive thing, which it's not.
No.
But like the way that they've thought through everything, it's like, okay, they're going to try and take the bones and do something with the bones. Like we can't even give them the bones.
Well, yeah. And like it says something that if I had to choose one of the like examples made of the Christians to happen to me, it would be the one random guy whose head's just cut off.
Oh yeah.
'Cause I'm like, at least that was quick.
It's not torture. Yeah.
But even I noticed in that scene, before the guy comes out and cuts that guy's head off, he's standing beside the guard and they're like talking and laughing.
Yeah.
Like they're just getting along. 'Cause it's at this, that's the point in the movie where it's like, okay, it's clear that the people here, like the guards here,
like
they
the
don't
prison.
hate these people. They actually like them.
It's right when he gets into the prison.
Yeah.
Which is very cool, by the way.
The prison?
Yeah, like the design.
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like the movie is really brutal. But it's long, but it's also good.
Yeah, and the length is the point of it, I think. Like,
yeah.
This movie could be like a quick 1 hour 30 and then we're in and out.
Yeah, it wouldn't really have the same impact.
And like this is, I'm going to say right off the top.
Sure.
It's not my kind of movie.
Sure.
I've been thinking about this a lot in the last like month or so, because Scorsese is one of these guys that like came in with the new Hollywood in the 70s, like Spielberg, George Lucas, all those kinds of guys.
Yeah.
And they were very like into the films of the past, which at that point are like 50s, 60s, 40s, which are a lot slower.
Yeah.
A lot more like, they're just a lot slower because the technology's different. But then he kind of goes through his career and he makes these movies that are inspired and pull heavily from that time period, because that's like his period. That's the period he grew up in. That's the stuff he studied when he was in film school. And I think it's very interesting to like see, because we're recording this after Everything Everywhere All at Once won the Oscar, how there's a bit of a changing tide in like what's venerated and what's like awarded.
Yeah.
Because it is still mind-blowing to me that won, just based on the fact that there's like butt plug jokes in it.
Yeah.
And there's like sex things in it that isn't like a sex scene.
Well, I feel like Everything Everywhere All at Once, I still haven't seen it.
Mm-hmm.
But like heard a lot about it, seen a lot about it, blah, blah, blah. But like, it feels like the kind of movie where years ago I'd watch it and be like, this is the kind of movie I would want to be nominated for Oscars and stuff that just wouldn't be, because it's too goofy.
It's usually like an original screenplay and that's it. But it ran the table. And I think it's because the Academy's gotten a lot bigger.
Yeah.
But it's also pulling from these inspirations that we can touch and feel and like know. It's very internet inspired.
Yeah.
So it's like pulling from, whereas Scorsese's pulling from the 50s and 60s and earlier, like silent era stuff.
Yeah.
The Daniels are pulling from Scorsese's period forward, kind of.
Yeah.
Like they obviously still know and like I'd assume respect all this stuff. That's
sure, and I'm
before
sure
that.
they're inspired by a lot of those
like,
kinds of movies. But.
Scorsese and that gang really revolutionized like Hollywood in a way.
Yeah.
And they gave us what we have now.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of don't see as much value going forward for people to like draw back on like the stuff past that. Like, I think there's just such a shift in how movies were made pre and post New Hollywood, where it's like, it's hard to watch a movie from like the 60s and 50s.
Oh, yeah. Oh, but you're saying like Scorsese Scorsese era, and then like kind of current era, and then back till Scorsese era is more watchable in the future than it is now to watch.
I think it's just more movies. Applicable. But,
sure.
Drawing it back to this movie, like this movie pulls a lot more from like before Scorsese.
Yeah.
It pulls a lot more from those influences, which I think makes it a harder movie to watch for people who are younger.
Yeah.
Like us. And also just aren't like film people. If you're not
like I feel like 90% of the people I know in my life would not be able to
they wouldn't even
this
click
movie.
on it.
No.
Which isn't a bad thing, because this is a 2 hour and 40-minute movie about Japanese torture of Christians. Like,
yeah.
And I think it's very admirable that he made it, but like it making $20 million at the box office is 100% expected.
Yeah.
But this is the movie that he's been waiting 30 years to make.
Yeah. Well, I was even just thinking of like this podcast, and I was thinking like of people in my life who might listen to this, and how and I was trying to think, would they like this movie? Because there's really like brutal Christian movies. Like Passion of the Christ is brutal.
Yeah.
That's literally about Jesus. And this movie's very brutal, and it's about, I mean, Jesus actually has a role in the movie, technically. He's got a little bit of voiceover.
I didn't see who was cast as Christ himself.
Who was?
I don't know. I should have checked.
Yeah, should have checked. Yeah, you check while I talk. But like... but like it kind of, I'm still not even sure like who is this movie for, because I feel like a lot of Christians would have a hard time watching this movie because it's like very brutal. It's literally about the persecution of Christians. You also see like Christians being forced to denounce their faith over and over again, so that's very hard to watch. But it's like, it's also a great Christian story, I feel like, and like has a lot of themes, and it's very like the main character remains Christian throughout. And it's kind of like a quote unquote happy ending when you realize that he remained Christian till his death.
Yeah.
So it's like being Christian is a positive thing in this movie, even though it's about the persecution and torture of Christians. So I just don't know who's watching this movie and really loving it.
Well, Scorsese's a pretty religious guy.
Okay.
He's like a Catholic guy. And I think the movie is just for like that's an interesting thing to think about, is like who this movie's for.
Yeah.
Because
I feel like it's a hard question to answer for any movie most of the time.
Yeah, but
unless it's like Star
very
Wars, because then you
hard.
just say like kids
or 40-year-olds
or Disney adults.
And also, just quick side note, the voice of Christ in the movie is played by the guy that they're talking to at the beginning. The actor's name is Syrian Hines, but he's like the guy they're talking to about Father Ferrara and like going out to Japan to.
Oh, okay.
So it's voiced by him, but like, I guess this movie is just for like film people.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just like a master is making a long, thought-provoking movie about Christianity. Yeah. Like, it's sort of in a similar fashion to like international cinema, which Scorsese is also a big advocate for. Yeah. Where like sometimes you'll watch one of these like French movies or something, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what is this? Yeah. But like, it's more of just like, I need to get this story out. I need to express this art.
Well, yeah, I have this with some movies. This is a good example of it, where I watch it and I'm like, I'm not sure if I necessarily enjoyed that. I'm not sure if I if it was for me or if it was like even necessarily good. I do think this movie's good, but I just mean in general these kinds of movies. But I usually leave being like, I'm glad that I know that story now. Like, I'm glad that it was told.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of movies that are kind of like that. They tend
to be like either smaller American movies, even though like small American movies usually have some like stupid shit in them.
Sure.
Like they're usually about some like someone who's like an alcoholic. This is a very wide generalization.
Sure.
Or like international movies where it's like it's more of a motivation to create art than to create commerce, which is I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but like I think that's where Scorsese comes at this.
I think this isn't a direct comparison, obviously, but this movie to me is kind of like 12 Years a Slave, where I watched 12 Years a Slave and I was like, wow, that was incredible. Like, I'm so glad the story was told, and I'm glad that I watched it. I didn't enjoy it. Like, there was almost nothing enjoyable about it.
Yeah.
But it's almost like there's a type of film that you are watching knowing that you're about to like put yourself through a mental and emotional struggle. Yeah. Like Schindler's List is another example where no one's watching that for fun, but it's also
maybe some people in our next movie might be. BlacKklansman.
BlacKkklansman, right. Yeah. Okay, yeah, you're right.
There's Nazis in that movie.
Yeah, there are Nazis in that movie.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they literally wear Nazi regalia. But
that's true. Also, I shouldn't respect them. I shouldn't try to show them respect by using their proper titles. But
no. But I don't know. I think it's just like there's a kind of movie that is meant to evoke a like deeper thought, and that's kind of it. Yeah. Where this movie, I'll be thinking about it for a while, but like I don't think I'd really recommend it to anybody.
It's a really hard one to recommend.
Yeah,
it's because it's like it's just like I don't know. It's just such a unique kind of thing because. Like, think about his next movie, The Irishman. Yeah. The pitch on that is so easy. Yeah. De Niro, Pacino, Joe Pesci. It's a mob movie. It's 3 hours long, but it's a mob movie. Yeah. The pitch on this is, okay, the guy who was shitty, like, was in the shitty Spider-Man.
He wasn't shitty in Spider-Man, but he was in the shitty Spider-Man.
He was good in the Spider-Man.
He was good.
But he was in the shitty Spider-Man, like, 2 years ago. Yeah. The guy who was just in Star Wars.
He wasn't even in Star Wars yet.
So the guy who
filmed this before Star Wars
is going to be Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens. Yeah. And the guy who's in Taken are missionaries going to Japan, and it's 2 hours and 40 minutes.
And also, the whole movie is sad.
Yeah, and it's called Silence.
There's only one joke in the whole movie. And Andrew Garfield makes it to Adam Driver like 20 minutes in. But I forget what it even... Oh, yeah, he says that he's a bad Jesuit. Because Adam Driver is like, I want to leave this hut. Or whatever. And then Andrew Garfield says something like, well, we have to stay here. Mm-hmm. You know, we'll be able to leave eventually, but for now we have to stay here. And then there's a pause, and then he like smiles and says, also, you're a bad priest, or you're a bad Jesuit. And it's like a very slight like, oh, they're friends. Yeah. But that's like realizing that they're friends and like each other is the closest thing to any humor in the movie. Yeah. Because like the only other like kind of humor comes from the Inquisitor. Yeah, because he's got like
very good. He's so good
because he like smiles. He like laughs once in a while. He's got a kind of high pitched voice. Yeah, he struggles to get up sometimes. Sometimes he asks for help. Sometimes people try to help and he whacks them. Like, but also you don't really, at least for me, I didn't really laugh or smile at those moments because I was like, this guy's killing hundreds of people. Yeah. Like torturing hundreds of people a day. So it's like hard to...
There's no thing to enjoy. Whereas in BlacKkKlansman, I know I'm talking about it and it's not that like we're talking about it a week before, but like there's enjoyment to be had. Every
movie,
scene
yeah.
in that movie is like enjoyable and has a weight, but there's also levity.
Yeah.
And there's charm to the characters.
Yeah.
Whereas like Andrew Garfield's not like a charming guy in this movie. Yeah, I wrote in my notes actually that them in that shed is like us when we had COVID.
Yeah.
Just fucking
well,
going
actually, the only
crazy.
moment I did laugh is when Andrew Garfield is like, and we had to hide away in this hut, and we couldn't make a sound in case anybody was passing by. Then, like, 2 minutes later, it cuts to a shot of Adam Driver slamming a rock on the ground over and over, and he's just going, rah, rah!
I was like, that's not very quiet, big guy.
So going back to us when we were quarantining during COVID, I was kind of like Andrew Garfield, kind of observing you and trying to calm you down. You were the one kind of slamming rocks on the ground.
That makes sense.
Although the things you were slamming on the ground were like, you'd cook up a big pot of like tortellini and then you just throw it all on the ground.
I'd come home at midnight, start making a big full pan of rice and something, no recipe, just pouring liquid in and hoping it doesn't overflow. Remember when I did that? That was fucking psychotic.
There were a couple times where I'd be like, what are you cooking? And you'd be like, I don't know. I got all the proportions wrong, though. Like, all the portions wrong. And I'd look, and it would be like so much rice and so little sauce. Or there was one time where it was like so little rice, but there was like so much sauce and chicken in it. And I was like, what are you eating?
My strategy in the kitchen is just kind of like,
fuck around,
find a couple things and see what happens.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good. I learned that from Hell's Kitchen. Do you know what Edo? They mention Edo a couple times in the movie. Old name for Japan.
Yeah.
This movie takes place in what they call the Edo period. I don't know if you did any research on this, but I was kind of
I just knew it was like during feudal Japan, but that also was like a very large portion of history.
So it takes place during the Edo period, which is like considered 1603 to 1867, which
also
is
a very large period.
Yeah. And it's characterized by economic growth, strict social order, isolationist foreign policy, stable population, perpetual peace, and popular arts and culture. We don't really get a lot of that stuff. We don't really get a lot of the history on the period aside from like what's going on here.
Yeah.
But for people to get a bit of a grasp on this is kind of the period where that big wave, that famous wave painting, I think it might be called the Great Wave.
I think it is.
At the tail end of this period, that painting is like painted and...
Well, yeah, there's a moment in the movie where I kind of realized I think it's when Liam Neeson showed up and was like talking about how he'd been living there for like a year or so at that point, and how he was like writing and he was learning and researching, and I just had this realization where I'm like, if the Japanese government was not actively kidnapping, torturing, imprisoning, and killing Christians, like, the culture there is very cool and very, like, well established, and it's, like, flourishing. It's just another kind of subculture tried to introduce itself, and it just got stomped out.
Yeah.
But, like, Japanese culture at the time, you don't see it a lot in this movie because it's focusing on the Christian part.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, it's flourishing and it's very abundant. I don't know if that's the right word, but
yeah. It's really interesting, like, period.
Yeah.
Because it's like Japan's such a fascinating country.
Yeah.
They shot this movie in Taiwan because of like cost.
Yeah, I also saw that. And also the producer, Martin Scorsese, and at least all of the three main actors, but then also I think some other actors, took very low pay to try and keep costs low. So it's like, this is very passion project.
Yeah.
Like all across the board from every party. And it still didn't make a lot of any profit, really. But
which like makes sense.
Yeah, I'm
The
sure
sell
that they
on this
made some
movie is
back by like...
difficult. like through
putting it on
rights
streaming
and-
services, but it's not on any streaming
I
services.
think it has been before, though.
Yeah.
Right. Let's talk about the sort of original attempt at making this movie in 2011. So that cast was going to be Daniel Day-Lewis,
Yeah.
Benicio del Toro, and Gael Garcia Bernal.
Yeah.
Kind of a wild cast.
Yeah. I'm assuming that it was Daniel Day-Lewis in Liam Neeson's
Yeah.
part, Benicio del Toro probably in Adam Driver's part,
Yeah.
and then
Gael Garcia Bernal.
yeah,
Which,
he kind of looks like Andrew Garfield a little bit, honestly.
in a way, but I think he's the right... he can speak Spanish.
Yeah,
I don't think... Well, I guess Portuguese. Maybe he can't speak Portuguese.
I don't know.
I don't know. The accents in this movie are like...
Oh, it took a little bit for me to get used to the accents. I mean, Andrew Garfield's like barely doing one, so it's a little
Yeah.
easier to. But in the first scene, Adam Driver's in, where he's like, I don't know what that was. I just made a sound, but like he's just like going hard on it.
Yeah.
and it just took me a second to get used to.
And he's got his hair tucked behind his ears. He looks
Dude,
like a little mouse boy.
I wrote down that Adam Driver had like a Survivor Island glow up, because people talk about how people on Survivor, some of them have glow ups where they show up and they look like, just as an example, like a scrawny little nerd boy.
Yeah.
But then by the end of the show, they've got like an island beard and they've like their hair's like flowing back and they look hot.
Nice.
And that kind of happened to Adam Driver, where I was like, man, he is looking rough. And then they got on the island and got a little dirty, and I'm like, that's the Adam Driver I know.
He's, very skinny too. What didn't you like look it up? He's lost like 50
Oh, yeah.
pounds or something for the
So-
movie.
Well, yeah, let me pull it up real quick. So Adam Driver lost 50 pounds before filming, and then during filming he lost another... Oh, wait, no. Never mind, sorry. He lost 30 pounds before filming and then another 20 during filming. So 50 pounds total.
And you can really tell in some of these scenes.
Yeah.
Especially his last scene where he's like shirtless.
Oh, yeah, he looks
Ugh.
rough there. And then Andrew Garfield lost 40 pounds, and Liam Neeson lost 20. So they were
Why
basically...
did Liam Neeson need to use weight?
I
lose
think
weight?
probably for the first scene. Like the
Oh,
opening
okay.
scene is him.
Oh,
on
right, because there's
the
also some of the
volcano.
torture scenes with him.
Yeah.
Something that might have contributed to the low box office, aside from this being a hard sell, is when it was released. It was released alongside, at like the same weekend as Patriots Day, which is, I think, the Mark Wahlberg Boston bombing movie,
Yeah.
which is like just fine.
I think I know what you're gonna say next.
What? Live by Night, Sleepless, and The Bye Bye Man were also released this weekend.
That is not what you were gonna say. I thought you were gonna say. Can I say my thing?
Yeah.
It opened alongside the movie Monster Trucks, a movie
Oh,
about monster
my-
trucks that are also monsters. So
Monster Trucks.
Silence
man.
had a budget of 50 million and grossed 23.8 million. Monster Trucks had a budget of 125 million and made 64.5 million. Just thought that was a little interesting.
Dude, if you're talking about a hard pitch to make, Monster Trucks has got to be a difficult pitch.
Yeah.
Dude,
Well, they probably pitched it as like, this is going to cost nothing, but people are going to see it because it's goofy, kind of like Cocaine Bear.
but that's not true.
But it did cost a lot. I'm sure it just had
they probably
production
thought it was
issues.
going to be their another big franchise.
Did they?
I'd love to know what studio made that, because
Maybe
you don't
we'll
make a
watch Monster
$125 million movie without expecting like a sequel.
Yeah.
It's like Disney
Well, that's why
didn't make
it
John.
must have been production issues.
Disney didn't make John Carter
No.
for there not to be a sequel, but they didn't make a sequel because it bombed.
Because it was bad. Same with Prince of Persia.
Man, fucking Monster Trucks. Ugh. I've got a question.
Yeah.
So this project was sort of considered to be in development hell, which is when a movie is sort of like, the Wikipedia definition is more than 10 years since it's announced, or like something like that. So I'm going to name off a couple other ones, and you tell me if you're interested in them. And some of these are like in production or have been made,
Okay.
but they were in development hell.
Okay.
So we've got a Spielberg movie about a young pope. He's been working on this for like 20 years or something. But they just can't find the right kid. But like, that's just kind of it. where he's like a young pope. I don't even know what that means. Is the Pope 12 years old?
I don't know, man.
Dude, that'd be fucking sick if you made a movie about a 12-year-old Pope. What?
I feel like there would probably be some dangers there.
I don't think that's allowed, though. I don't think that's allowed, though. I think you have to go through the ranks a little bit. Beetlejuice 2, which there has been some movement on since...
There has been some movement on.
The Scream success.
And because Michael Keaton has been like, I'll do it.
Well, I feel like he's been saying that since the 90s.
I think Michael Keaton, and just like, especially in the last like 10 years, has just been saying like he'll do whatever.
Well, there's also just been a resurgence in him kind of getting cast. Like he was what happened to Brendan Fraser in like 2015 when he had Birdman come out. Like that was his sort of like, I'm back kind of thing. And I think he also won Best Actor for that. I'm not 100% sure.
I don't think he won Best Actor. He was nominated.
He was nominated. He probably should have won.
I don't know.
So there's Beetlejuice 2. Apparently Jenna Ortega might be in it. And the only pitch for a script for Beetlejuice 2 that I've heard is basically like Beetlejuice in Hawaii.
You know what? Sure. Whatever,
I mean, if Tim Burton directs it, Winona Ryder's there, Michael Keaton. We don't need Alec. I think we're okay without Alec.
Yeah.
Catherine O'Hara.
Well, Alec Baldwin's probably never going to work again.
Well, they're making Rust. They're finishing Rust. Someone told me this the other day. And I was like, why? No one's watching that.
I don't know, man. They're just
not
making
even gonna
whatever
be,
now.
It's not even like a movie where there's been production troubles, where like Chaos Walking, where you can see someone being like, okay, let's see how bad this thing actually is.
Yeah.
It's just sad.
Yeah.
So, not great marketing for your movie. There's a Francis Ford Coppola movie coming out with Adam Driver in it. It's one of the next... I think he's going to be in Ferrari with Michael Mann, which was also kind of in development hell, as Enzo Ferrari.
Yeah.
So playing another Italian. And then Megaopolis for Francis Ford Coppola, where he's playing a to-be-determined character. But this movie has literally every single famous person in it, kind of.
Which means it'll either be really good or really bad.
I hope
that's
it's good.
usually how it goes.
What do you think? Does that titillate you?
Honestly, none of those. Maybe the Megaopolis one I'm interested in. The rest I could kind of care less about.
Fury Road was also a famous development hell story, but that has since been made.
And it was good.
Hopefully, I think they're filming Furiosa right now, so it won't get caught in development hell. But I feel like there was some sort of like worries about that when it was announced. The Irishman is also another famous development, stuck in development movie.
Yeah.
A Space Jam sequel. They were really trying to make a Space Jam sequel for a long time after the first Space Jam. And they wanted to do Skate Jam with Tony Hawk.
Incredible.
Or Race Jam with Jeff Gordon, I think. NASCAR.
Yeah.
Maybe they wanted to do one with Tiger Woods.
This all sounds
They were just
bad.
kind of like any sport that has like a
Puck
famous
Jam.
Honestly, they probably threw that out and were like, maybe we could get Gretzky in it.
Ball Jam.
What's Ball Jam?
I mean, it's usually the stuff that I like find under the toilet seat.
What?
I don't know. That was a joke about cum. I'll probably cut that.
Oof. They could have done Home Run Jam with whoever was juicing at the time. Like steroids.
Probably.
Who Barry Bonds. A-Rod was like 2000s.
Okay.
And then they famously made the one with LeBron.
Of course.
That was so good. And I'm going to figure out a way to put it on this podcast. So we have to watch it,
right.
and it's going to take last place.
Doubt it.
It's so bad. It's way worse than Hardcore Henry. Anyway. Also, there's been a Portal/Half-Life movie.
Oh, yeah. Portal's been, like, quote-unquote, in development since the first game came out.
Which I'm very interested in.
Oh, yeah.
But it won't be good when it comes out.
The issue with that and with Half-Life is that it would probably fall into a similar problem that Hardcore Henry fell into, where, like, the protagonist is voiceless. They don't talk in the game. So you'd either have to do what Hardcore Henry did, where it's just people talking at you the whole time, or
completely change
it, and which they'd probably do that makes a lot more sense.
And there's like I've never been into the Half-Life stuff. I think was just kind of too young for it. but there's a Half-Life movie apparently that's been in like started development.
I mean,
and
another
got
development
COD
hell
and
was
Uncharted.
Uncharted was in like big
Yeah,
development.
they hit
hell
a
for
home run
years.
on that one, huh?
I wanna that movie makes me want to volunteer for one of these torture methods in the movie Silence.
Which one would you want?
I mean, the beheading one would be nice.
Like you want that right now? Like if I could set that up, you'd like that?
Yeah, not even just because that's the least bad one, just because like
Just see what happens.
I just want to experience it. It was actually like really brutal. Like the head rolling away was brutal, obviously, but it was really brutal when they're dragging the headless
Yeah.
body away, and there's like a trail of
but it
blood.
looks so good too.
It did look
the
so
movie
good.
shot so well.
Oh,
The last one I have here is Edge of Tomorrow. Did you ever watch the first
I
Edge of
didn't watch
Tomorrow?
Edge of Tomorrow.
So I guess they're trying to make a second one, but like I don't think Tom Cruise wants to do anything that's not Mission Impossible or Top Gun.
Yeah,
So we'll see if we get that. But the first Edge of Tomorrow is like
I heard
quite
it was pretty good. Yeah.
yeah. It's some people have said this before, but it's one of the better like video game movies because the thing is he essentially respawns.
Yeah. What was the original title for that? It was like Live, Die, Repeat. Yeah. Okay.
Which is like something you'd see on a Walmart graphic tee.
Yeah. Eat, sleep, game, repeat.
Eat, sleep, game, repeat. My mommy got this.
And the kid wears
That's
it
the
to
kind of
school and
T-shirt
wonders
that
why he
my
gets
mom
bullied.
would like tell me I should get. Like if I was a kid at Walmart and she saw that, she'd be like, "Oh, Adam, look, this shirt would be great for you." And I'd be like, "No," and it would probably like have a little monkey with a gaming headset on it.
I think I saw it was like a Ludwig clip or something, and he was talking about like I don't even know what, but he was like, it's like when you were in elementary school and you see that kid with like the stupid like
The ironic T-shirt.
yeah, and you're like, and he gets bullied for it, and you're like, but you know you're doing this to yourself. Like this is a stupid shirt to be wearing, and I like kind of agreed with.
I remember
Ludwig,
for my
but also
birthday
didn't.
one year, my mom bought me a T-shirt that said, "Sorry, can you say that again? I wasn't listening." And I'm like, "What are you trying to like
What do you want me to express
manifest
to people
in
here?
me? Do you
Yeah.
want me to be this kind of kid?" And I think she just thought it was funny. But I was like, I remember telling her, I was like, "I'll wear this shirt, but I'm not wearing it to school."
Why don't you just wear a shirt that says "fuck you" on it?
Yeah. Well, I think she bought it for me as like, I don't think it was a birthday thing. I think she bought it for me as like a first day of school shirt. And I was like, "Mom, I'm
going to a new school."
yeah, I'm going to I don't know if it was when I was going to a new school.
But that'd be
But
hilarious.
it
Your mom's
would
like,
be
wear
funny.
this sassy shirt to school.
But even then I was like, I don't want to be in like English class and raise my hand and the teacher see my shirt and think I'm trying to be an idiot. Like, so instead I probably just wore a shirt that said like, oh yeah, someone
Star
got me one that
Wars.
said I'm going viral, but it had like a contamination logo or like a like radiation logo on it, so that it's like viral, like a viral,
Like a
disease
pandemic?
or whatever. Yeah.
But you were actually going viral
But
on
they
the
got me
internet.
the shirt because they were like, because you're golfy butt. It's like, oh,
Weird
man.
Sound Wednesdays.
Yeah, YouTuber.
So I kind of teased this to you earlier.
Okay.
And I know I'm kind of, I'll let you get to your stuff later, but me trying to watch this movie was a real fucking time. Man.
Yeah.
So when I watch these movies that aren't on streaming services,
Yeah.
I want to try and do it the right way.
Sure.
I want to try and rent it.
Sure.
So that's what I did. I tried to rent it. I have a MacBook. This is important to the story. This isn't
Okay.
a flex. So I was like, okay, I'll go on Apple TV and I'll try to rent it. The fucking Apple TV app sucks on the laptop. It's horrible. It doesn't load. It doesn't work. You click on something, everything else, every other internet's working. The shit just doesn't load.
Sure.
But I'm like, okay, this is probably the best option. It'll probably have the best visual quality.
Sure.
So I'll do that. So I go and I click through. I click to purchase it. It just loads for literally like 20 minutes. So I'm like, okay, this probably isn't going to go through.
Yeah.
Let's figure out another service because I'm in a bit of a time crunch to watch the movie. So I'm like, okay, YouTube, Google. YouTube's got a good video player. We'll go
Sure.
to that. So I rent it on YouTube. All clear. I start watching it and it looks a little shitty.
Okay.
I click down to the thing to set the quality. the max I can watch it at, even though I rented what it says is Ultra HD, is 480p. So then I'm like, okay, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna watch. Like, I don't want to watch
Did you pay
it
for
like
this movie 3 times?
Hold on.
Oh no.
So then I'm like, okay, I can still watch that one,
Sure.
but I want to watch it in a good quality, and if I like it, maybe I'll watch it again in like a month before that rental expires.
Sure.
So what's another service I can use?
Yeah.
I go, oh, it's cheap on Microsoft. It's like $1 cheaper on Microsoft. I've already given this movie one payment.
Yeah.
One confirmed payment.
Yeah.
I go over to Microsoft. I rent the movie on Microsoft. You can only watch rented movies from Microsoft on a Windows computer or an Xbox.
That's stupid.
So I can't watch it on Microsoft. So I go back and I'm like, okay, at this point, I've paid to rent it twice.
Yeah. Technically 3 times, didn't you?
No, wait, hold on. Well, because that one's not confirmed yet.
Oh, okay.
I've paid to rent it twice. I'm okay with pirating this one. I'm okay with trying to find it on a
Sure,
streaming
because you've already
service.
paid for it. Yeah.
The shit just doesn't fucking load.
Yeah.
It doesn't load. So I go back and I watch the shit in 480p.
Yeah.
I'm watching the fucking movie in 480p.
Yeah.
Now, why has this happened to me? Why is this the state that we're in? Is it my fault? Probably.
Do you feel persecuted?
Yes.
Glad you thought about that before answering.
So I watched the thing on fucking YouTube. I
Yeah.
get through it. 2 days later, the Apple charge goes through. So I guess I've rented it on Apple TV now, so I can watch it in a month, maybe at a better quality. But like, if a movie's not on a streaming service, you're kind of fucked.
Yeah.
And when I was writing this down, because I was so annoyed, I was like, wouldn't it be great if there was a way you could like go somewhere and get the movie and then bring it home and then you can watch it, but like it's a rental, and
You
then
literally
you just,
just
like, have to
described
take
a
it back.
library. Or no, you described Blockbuster.
Yeah. Because that's what we're doing, except you kind of know the quality you're going to get at Blockbuster because they have to check the discs and shit.
Yeah. I mean, I remember taking like movies from Blockbuster, and once in a while the disc would get like it would skip or pause.
But then if you like bring it in, you're like, this shit's broken.
Yeah.
That's just customer service. There's no customer service with these things. Like,
No.
what am I going to open up an online ticket in one of their chat services to try and
No,
get back the $4.50 or whatever?
I'm going to propose something to you. I don't know how often you've done this. You probably have. But usually if I have to watch a movie that's not on a streaming service, I rent it on Cineplex.
The thing with Cineplex is like, I feel like it's just not like an ecosystem, and it's probably the best version or like the best way to do it. But like,
It's kind of hard to find
sort of
their
like-
rental site.
it's
But
also just like everything kind of is over. It feels like everything like YouTube and stuff is like there's a bigger thing, and then Cineplex is just like off
Yeah.
to the side.
I agree. But they do have like nearly every movie. I even got an email being like, you can buy if you buy the entire first Last of Us season on Cineplex, which I didn't even know they could sell that. But
Yeah,
if you
I didn't
buy
either.
the entire first season on Cineplex, you get 500 extra scene points or
So
something.
that's pretty cool.
And I was like, I thought about it, but then I was like, I could just watch it on Crave.
Yeah, and you also like the digital licenses are going to get a lot trickier in the next 5 years, I think.
Yeah.
But like, here's the thing. The streaming business fucks people who don't like, if you want to watch something like unique, and this isn't even that unique. It's a movie by Martin Scorsese,
Yeah.
with a guy that played Spider-Man, a guy that was in a Star Wars movie, and a guy that was in Taken, which was a big action franchise.
And in Star Wars.
And in Star Wars. And no streaming service has that.
Yeah.
But like, you think because you have the streaming services, you kind of have everything, but you don't. You have like
Well,
a small fraction of stuff.
I had to bring in I'm just going to say my car. It's technically my parents' car. But they're letting me borrow it for a while. Anyway.
For the rest of your life?
Actually, I don't have it right now. My dad's on a little bit of a road trip. But
Did he run away?
no, he's going to see a Leafs game in Ottawa.
nice.
But I needed to bring it into the shop because my windshield wipers broke, like the motor busted.
Classic.
So I brought it to my girlfriend Olivia's dad's shop. And while I was there, he was like, "You're costing me money, man." And I was like, "What? Because of the windshield wipers?" And he was like, "No, you're costing me money because every week
Andrea's renting a movie.
yeah, she's renting a movie because not all of them are on streaming services, or they're on a streaming service we don't have. So I'm paying like $5 a week." And I was like, "I'm really sorry." And he was like, "It's fine. Usually they're good movies."
Yeah.
But I just thought that was kind of funny. And I did we do usually pick movies that are on like
We
Disney
try
Plus
to.
or
Yeah.
Netflix, or Amazon Prime. But
It's just
because not everybody
illu-
has Crave, and not everybody.
You just have this illusion that you have choice, but like
yeah.
you have choice, you have a bunch of options, but there's no real curation
No.
of the choice.
I'm honestly kind of awaiting the downfall of streaming services
I
a
hope
little
it's
bit.
coming soon.
Or at least the downfall of shifty
Licensing
license.
stuff?
Or just like, because Netflix is trying to screw everyone over by being like, either pay more for less or pay more than you used to.
Well, here's the thing
I
with
don't know.
streaming services. For the last like year or so, like in the last year or so, I've just realized it's the stupidest business possible.
Oh, it's bad.
because like
They've been operating at a deficit for the past like 10 years.
yeah, it's not a good business.
But
And then
the
everyone
business
else-
model is operate at a deficit until it's a necessity for people, and then upcharge, which is what Netflix is doing.
But then you can just cancel it.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think Netflix anticipated there being 17 other streaming services, and I don't think Netflix anticipated people being like, "Okay, fine, I won't then."
Because there's dog shit on Netflix.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I need to watch Outer Banks? Like, it's strange. For me, it's Stranger Things.
I think you should leave.
Yeah. I think you should leave.
But the thing is-
honestly, I think you should leave as a bigger draw.
Yeah, I think you should leave is the biggest draw. I mean, they've also got Star Trek: The Next Generation and Avatar: The Last Airbender, which are shows that I'm watching.
But you just buy
But,
the
like,
DVDs or something.
Exactly.
Man. Like,
Exactly. Like, I don't know. I know that that's the thing. A lot of people are like, "Oh, how am I going to watch The Office?" If you truly watch The Office like 7 times a year from beginning to end,
get the Blu-rays.
Get the Blu-rays. Buy
Yeah.
the discs. It'll honestly be a worthy
And then
investment
you can
if you love it
literally
that much.
watch it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Because Blu-ray discs don't really degenerate.
No. But like, I don't know. It's just this thing of the thing with even I think you should leave. I was talking to our buddy Matt when he was over here to watch the Oscars. And we were talking about Netflix and how all of us are thinking of canceling. And he was like, "Honestly, when I think you should leave season 3 comes out, we can just have a watch party at my parents' house because they're still going to have Netflix.
Yeah.
We can all watch the season together, and then we don't have to worry about paying way too much money."
And then the shit's going to be on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. Streaming.
I don't know
it feels
how...
like every like 3 or 4 episodes of this
just
podcast
have
we
a
go on a rant
diatribe.
about something else.
Yeah.
Whether it be length of movies or
Yeah. Franchises.
franchises or this. But I don't know. I kind of hope that Netflix kind of their current plan with upcharging and cracking down on account sharing kind of backfires, and either they just go down and then all the other streaming services go with them, or that they go back on their choice and these streaming services keep operating at a deficit
That's not
for the
gonna
next like
happen.
25 years, but that's not happening.
I like to tie it back into this movie. It does a disservice to movies like this.
Yeah.
Because if someone has the option of watching the streaming service they already pay for or paying $5 for the rental, they're going to pick whatever shits on the streaming services they pay for. But the movie's probably not going to be as good or interesting.
Well, I also remember back in the day, I'm only 23 years old. I sound so old.
Hey, brother.
Hey, brother. Hey, brother.
There's an endless road to rediscover.
Hey.
Sister. No water's deep, but blood is thicker.
But like, I remember it used to be that I'd see a movie in the theater, and if I really loved it, I'd be like, in like 2 or 3 months when that comes out on Blu-ray, I'm gonna buy that.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like I see a movie and I just
don't watch it in theaters.
I just
and then wait
hope
for it to
and
come on
pray
streaming.
that it'll come out on a streaming service.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. I mean, obviously all the Disney ones do. That's the nice thing about Disney Plus, at least, is
that
since
all
they
the
have
shit
such a
comes to it.
monopoly
Yeah.
on Hollywood right now. It's like most movies I see in the theaters, I'm like, I'll be able to
Like
watch
Jungle
it on Disney
Cruise.
Plus. Like Jungle Cruise. Still haven't seen it. Don't need to.
Yeah, no, you don't.
Yeah. Did you see The Rock's suit when he presented with Emily Blunt?
Dude,
It was like a weird peach fleshy color.
we shouldn't talk too much about the Oscars because, like, this is going to be very
That's
outdated by
true.
the time it comes out, but that ceremony was so fucking boring, and they need to get rid of the original songs. They need to add stunts perform. They need to add breakthrough awards. They need to, like, change the shit so much. 'Cause
Yeah, they need to do so much.
we do not need 5 songs. What movie is that first song from? No one's ever watched that fucking movie. No one's ever heard of that song. There was no point for that to be nominated.
Sure. Here's the thing.
It just took up 3.5 minutes.
I thought that this year's Oscars were better than usual solely because the people who accepted the awards were like, they seemed like they actually cared. Because most years, the people who accept the awards, they're like, you know, I just went right to Matthew McConaughey. But it's like, I'm so honored. Thanks to my producers.
Who do I want to be in 10 years? That's my hero.
It kind of turned into...
Give your inspirational speech.
Yeah, give your inspirational speech or like use it as an activism platform. Whereas there's nothing really wrong with either of those, but it kind of became only that. Whereas this year it was just a lot of people going up and being like, I worked really hard for this and I am so proud of myself.
Yeah.
And there's something really nice about that. But then it was intercut with Jimmy Kimmel making jokes about Malala.
Dude, Jimmy Kimmel's just bad too.
Yeah.
I don't think he's been funny in like 20 years.
Dude, literally, before we watched it, Sid was like, hey, do you know who's hosting? And I was like, I don't know if they even have a host. They haven't really had hosts. But then I looked it up and I was like, oh, it's Jimmy Kimmel. And then everyone in the room went, oh.
Like, I don't like him, but James Corden would at least be better.
I would have hated James
But
Corden.
he'll at least do something that's like meme worthy. Like,
Yeah.
at the very least, it'll be silly. Jimmy
Yeah.
Kimmel is like a net negative,
Yeah.
where he doesn't do anything good and he doesn't do anything bad, and there's nothing to take away.
It was kind of funny because you know how every host usually like does a bunch of roasts kind of, and Jimmy Kimmel did that as well. So Matt was over and it was his first Oscars he'd ever seen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was like, I'm excited for my first Oscars. And so when Jimmy Kimmel was roasting people and he like made it, I forget what joke he made, but he made some sort of kind of insensitive joke that was like fine.
Was it about the slap?
I think so.
Okay.
There was another one he made that was worse, but like even at the slap one, which was like,
It's like
obviously
mid.
he was going to make a joke about
Yeah.
the slap, but he made a joke about the slap and then Matt went, oh, whoa. And I was like, what? And he's like, man, he's like not holding back. And I was like, this is kind of just what they do.
You should see Ricky Gervais at the Golden Globes.
Or even Seth MacFarlane. Honestly, Seth MacFarlane was one of my favorite hosts of the Oscars.
They just got to get someone who's like entertaining, because Jimmy Kimmel's like literally not entertaining at all.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about Silence in about 35 minutes.
Yeah, here. Let's jump into it. I have one thing that we haven't talked about at all that I think is important.
When did they take shits?
No, not that. What's the character's name? I've got it right here.
Who is it? Chijiro?
Kichijiro, yeah.
Kichijiro?
We haven't talked about him at all. He's honestly, I'd argue, the tertiary, or like the third most.
He's the most interesting
character.
part of the movie.
Yeah, it was this thing where like I have this like sympathy for him because he's just broken,
Yeah.
but also I was becoming very frustrated with him because it was just like a constant cycle.
Yeah.
Where he would do something bad and then confess his sins and want to be blessed, and then he'd
do something
literally
bad again.
within 24 hours do something again. Like, even the time that he sold out Andrew Garfield, he was literally apologizing and confessing and asking for forgiveness as Andrew Garfield was being taken away.
Yeah.
And I think Andrew Garfield has the same frustration, but even the last time that Kichijiro asks for forgiveness, and it's right before Andrew Garfield apostatizes, he still, like, silently does a blessing to him.
Yeah. And then he comes back again after he's a fallen priest and, like, tries to get him to take his confession again.
Yeah.
Still. But Andrew Garfield's like, number one, I can't. And also, number two, like, was this the 7th time that I'm doing this? Like, you gotta learn the error of your ways at some point.
Yeah. And then Kichijiro gets taken away. And I think that's the last we see of him. I guess I assume he just gets killed.
Because he had Christian, like a Christian symbol.
There was a word for it, but I think it's like a fue or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
But it's like just a physical symbol of Christianity. But I feel like it was implying that he was given it by Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
But he doesn't, like, confess to that or anything. So
because if he did, then I think Andrew Garfield would get punished or, like, maybe not executed, but, like, something would happen.
He'd probably go in the pit.
Get pitted.
But I did find it interesting how Andrew Garfield throughout the film is refusing to apostatize, but also anytime anybody is asked to apostatize, he wants them to save their own life. And there's even a few points where he talks about how, like, God knows that when you step on this plaque with Jesus on it, that you're not actually disavowing him.
Yeah.
But then when he's asked to do the same, he can't do it. And I think that's kind of true about, like, every character, where almost every character does that, except Kichijiro, who does it every time. Every time he has the opportunity to do it, he does it, because he's, like, I mean, his character's just a bit of a coward in that way. Not that I think you're a coward for trying to avoid all of these torture methods.
But, like, the other people that are facing this sort of, like, are faced with apostatizing don't break. Yeah. But he breaks every time.
Yeah. And even the ones that do break, it's usually after heavy resistance. Yeah. But he almost every time does. And I'd like to know, because they do a bit of a flashback to when Kichijiro first apostatizes with his family, but then all of his family gets killed, which was, like, that was one of the toughest to watch, was when they're, like, wrapped in hay and they're put on these, like, pyres.
Is that when they're burnt? Or when they're... Yeah. Because the water one's also bad.
The water one's also bad. But, like, I would be interested to know whether he apostatized and then his family didn't, or if they didn't and then he did. Because I think that would be telling of his character. Because I think if he apostatized and then they didn't, that would be like, oh, well, he went first. He probably thought they were going to as well. Whereas if he went last, that's, like, big coward move. Yeah. That, like, your entire family didn't.
I think I'd read it as him going last.
Yeah.
Because I think he's just like he even says it, like, that he's a coward.
Yeah, he calls himself weak all the time. Where he's like, I'll try to be stronger. I know that I'm weak. And it's honestly kind of sad. Like, I sympathize with his character, but it's also a thing of you might just be lost. Yeah. In a way. But there was also this thought I had where I was like, okay, so Andrew Garfield tells Kichijiro that even though he has apostatized multiple times and he's betrayed his family and he's betrayed Andrew Garfield and he's betrayed so many people, that God still loves him and that he's still savable, he's still redeemable. But then it's this thought of, like, okay, so then what is the point of not apostatizing? If when you apostatize and renounce Jesus, you're still worthy of being saved
And
and
he
being
knows,
redeemed,
and yeah,
and he knows, and he understands, then
why
I
is
feel like,
Garfield still holding out?
yeah, and I feel like Garfield should be like preaching to these people that it's okay to apostatize.
Yeah, but he is in a way.
He does, because he tells them to when they're about to die, but at that point it's usually too late.
Yeah,
But like, except for the one scene where I think it was, I forgot his name again, the guy from the first village,
Ichiro.
Mokichi.
Oh, Mokichi.
Yeah. Where Mokichi's like, what do I do if they ask me to apostatize? What do I do?
And he says to apostatize.
Yeah,
and,
well,
but
he's
then,
like, he says, trample. You trample. I love
and then
that line.
Adam Driver.
It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, where I think Adam Driver is very, like, his character's much more traditional based,
Yeah.
but also he's like, in a way, the weaker of the two, where, like, going back to the hut where he's smashing rocks on the ground, like, he's kind of losing it, and he's like, we need to leave.
Yeah.
We should leave. And Andrew Garfield's like, no, this is our mission. We must do this.
It feels like, to me, the Andrew Garfield stuff sort of comes out of a self, like, veneration. Like, he sees himself
Well, there's
this great, potentially this great figure, and that's why he won't take that step to apostatize. And why it's so hard.
I think he sees,
for him.
like, as soon as he apostatizes, that erases everything before. Yeah.
Because it, like, you can't go back from that.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's such a difficult debate for him, and why it's such a difficult action for him to take, but he's okay to tell other people to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, they're not losing the same thing I am. If I do this, I'm losing my legacy, I'm losing everything I've worked for, I'm losing my status as a martyr.
Yeah.
Whereas they're doing it in self-preservation.
Well,
like, they need to do this.
That kind of comes back later when, I mean, a couple characters tell him this throughout, but the main one is Liam Neeson's character near the end is like, they're not dying for God. They're dying for you.
Yeah. They don't even understand what we're, like, I don't know if that's 100% true, but when he's saying, like, they don't understand our religion, like,
I think he's more saying that, like, we have all of these books and like texts and traditions that we have learned and committed ourselves to back in Portugal, and we've come here. They're only basing their faith off of what we've told them.
Yeah.
And we're, like, showing them these physical examples and, like, physical representations of the faith. But, like, to them, they just see those, and that's kind of what they're worshiping.
Yeah.
Or you are what they're worshiping. So it's this weird thing of, I feel like Andrew Garfield's character, like you're saying, wants to be a martyr, wants to be a symbol, wants to have a legacy, but at the same time is in denial that that's how others are viewing him.
Yeah.
Because there's even a moment where he feels like absolutely hopeless and lost. It's right before he goes to prison, where he's looking in the water and he sees Jesus in his reflection.
Yeah, as himself.
And I think it's just, and then he starts laughing, and I think that's mostly him being like, finally, I found this connection with Jesus again. But I also saw it as like him seeing a little bit of like, I have a similar struggle. Yeah, and there is moments where, like, when Jesus's voiceover comes in while he's praying, where, like, the voiceover of Jesus, like, says, your struggle is my struggle. Like, what you're going through is similar to what I went through. So it does kind of paint his character as a Christ-like figure, which I think is, and I think he's aware of that. And I think that's, like, part of why he is so hesitant to apostatize, because he's like, Jesus wouldn't. But then right before he does, he, like, hears Jesus, and it's like, step on me. Like, I know that you're not, like, I know you're fine.
Yeah.
I also thought, like, during some of the scenes where the guys are like, it's just a formality. You can lightly step on it. You don't even have to step on the face or anything. We just want you to do this. And they still don't. I was like, dude, just like tap the corner with your sandal. like that's not.
Yeah.
I don't know like if that's like also bad, but
I mean,
I'm like,
I think the whole thing is bad, but like them saying like just do it so that I don't have to kill you or put you in the pit.
yeah, I guess it's just symbolic.
We should come to
Yeah,
get
what are
close
we
to
at?
wrapping.
Ooh, this
it
is
up.
getting to this. I didn't expect this to be so long.
So I've got a couple questions for you.
Sure.
Sorry, I just had a moment.
What
I don't know. I just don't know how to fucking read, I think.
Okay.
Is this the first Scorsese movie you've seen?
I think maybe.
Nice.
I think it might be.
Cool.
I feel like there's one that I must have seen, but I might be wrong.
Hugo?
Oh yeah, I did see Hugo.
Okay.
I did see Hugo.
That's like, I feel like that's one that you would have watched
Yeah.
around when it came out.
I think I watched it like a year after it came out because I watched it at home, and I think I was too young to really understand what was going on because it's a very movie or not movie. It's a very film,
And it's about
film.
movies and
Yeah.
stuff. Sorry, what the fuck was I saying?
I don't know.
The Oscars this year didn't really get any Oscars buzz at all.
No, it got a cinematography nomination.
But this was the
that
Moonlight La La Land Oscars, so
Okay.
there was like, it was pretty stacked all the way around.
Yeah.
But Andrew Garfield's incredible in this movie.
Oh yeah, he's really, really great.
So let's just get kind of right to the end. Who would you recast?
Oh, actually, yeah. I thought you were saying let's get right to the end and rank it, and I was like, well, we
No.
got to recast Adam
Who would
Driver.
you cast Adam Driver as? I think it's obvious you put him in the Andrew Garfield spot.
Oh,
just
I
to
was going to
see-
say the Liam Neeson role.
I think that could be good
Because
too.
I think like an older Adam Driver would fill that role well as like a defeated kind of like priest that has kind of given up.
I think I just want to see him at the center of a movie for like a
The whole
long
time,
time.
yeah.
Which I guess is what 65 is.
Actually,
But
he'd also do great at
In
the
a lot of the
Andrew
movies he's
Garfield
in, it's not like just him,
Yeah.
right? Because he's in the Star Wars where it's kind of like not just him. He's the villain.
Yeah.
Marriage Story, not really just him. BlacKkKlansman, he's a side character.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to see him just like have the movie.
Well, 65.
Yeah, but that's like, this is historical fiction, but that's like fucking fake. Like that's like the moon.
Yeah, but he's going to be the main character the whole time.
That's
Which,
true.
even though I've heard the movie, I mean, like, I'm going in with an open mind.
Yeah,
even though
yes,
I've
we
heard
are. Aside from the dinosaur stuff,
Yeah.
open-minded about everything else.
Yeah. Like, I've heard that it's bad. However, like, it's still going to be him the whole time.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of excited for that.
Dude, I'm kind of excited for that episode. Jeez.
All right. You want to rank, or you got more questions?
Oh, one last comment that I wrote down is I feel like at the ending when the camera goes into the burning coffin,
I
or
thought that was cool.
whatever
That
it
was a
is,
cool shot.
and you see the like little cross in his hand.
Yeah.
I wrote, I feel like the ending should get an Avengers on your left like applause.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah.
Or just like the Avengers theme comes in.
Yeah. It's like some sort of triumphant thing.
Yeah. Dude, I'd love to see an edit where that happens, but it plays the Amazing Spider-Man 2 theme. Anyway.
We gotta do Amazing Spider-Man.
So, that would be interesting if we did a month where we did all the different Spider-Mans.
We'll talk about that.
We just
off mic.
pitch ideas on pod
We'll talk
while
about that
recording
off
all the
mic.
time, and we're not going to do almost any of them. So, as
We'll
far as
see.
ranking goes, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Because I do really like this movie, but looking at the list, there's very few that I'd put below it.
Interesting. Oh wow. Okay.
So you say where you think, and then we'll find an even.
Fuck. Like here's the thing. Here's the thing where their list gets so hard. That's what she said. Is
list gets so hard. That's what she said.
that's what that's what you be calling my dangling.
I've always got lists in bed.
Ayo.
Just spat on me.
Yeah, and he liked it too. Is this like artistically a better movie than almost every single one on the list?
Probably.
Yes.
Probably close. Yeah.
But like, I'm not gonna watch it again, maybe, unless I really feel guilty about that Apple TV rental.
Well, it's like how, I forget which episode it was, but there was one of the episodes where we were ranking a movie, and I was like, I feel like most of what we're basing a lot of these on, once we get into the weeds, is like whether there were lulls or whether it drags. But like, there's so many aspects, like pacing, length, like rewatchability, enjoyability, artistic.
I feel like we need
vision.
Like we kind of went into this with just being like, oh, we're gonna rank them, but I feel like we need some sort of scale, and we need to each bring our scores for each thing.
Maybe I do.
Just to have an idea.
I kind of like the idea of all these movies that do not relate and aren't the same in any way, all having to be ranked.
But just to like explain our thought process on it, I think.
Well, that's what the podcast is for.
Yeah.
So you have not chosen a spot yet, so I'm gonna go
I
first.
want you to.
As far as what I'd like to watch again, I'd probably put this above Weird the Al Yankovic Story, below The Batman. But as far as like how good of a movie I think it is, I'd probably put it more around the like West Side Story, Police Story, Scream area.
I think it at least has to be there, because the list is about how good the movie is.
Sure.
Right? Because if we were doing like rewatchability...
Well, I think our personal opinions play a part.
No, they do. But if it was like solely rewatchability and like whatever, the list might be kind of flipped. Like Fast 5 would be a lot higher.
Sure.
But
maybe.
I understand that there are things in Fast 5.
Waves is number one. Waves isn't a movie I'm going to watch 3 times a year. You know what I mean? So I
feel like Silence has to at least be...
My gut is above or below Police Story.
I think it's above Police Story.
Actually, I might even put it above West Side.
West Side. Yeah.
That's a tough one, though. I don't think I'd put it above Shiva Baby, just because I think Shiva Baby's like... It's just so quick. And I think it's just like such a quick story. Whereas like this... Actually, I don't know, man. This is such a tough movie to rank.
This is like a completely different beast than we've ever done on this show.
Yeah.
Like the closest parallel is Waves, but it's still like 50 degrees apart from Waves.
It's like Waves artistically, and then like West Side Story scale. you know, or like Batman scale. You know what I mean?
Something in the way.
Hello?
Oh my God, is that... It looks like there's 500 loyal boys crowded outside your front door.
Where's my gun? I've got about 5 different Manchester 15s.
What the fuck are you saying?
I just tried to say a random... I meant Winchester.
I've got 500 Manchester 15s.
I meant Winchester because I think that's a type of gun. Anyway.
I think we're putting it above West Side Story.
You want to put it above West Side?
Yeah.
Are you good with below Shiva Baby?
Yeah. I think Shiva Baby is... I think it's got a lot of... Like, it's a different type of artistic.
Sure.
But it's also got a lot of artistic merit in its own way.
Yeah. I feel like this is a movie where right now I'm very confident putting it that high because it's just such a like
well-made, artistically thought-provoking movie.
But I feel like I'm confident that in like 2 months from now, I'm going to look at it on the list and be like, why'd we put Silence so high?
Yeah.
Just because it's a movie where it's not one that I'm going to talk about a lot. Even on this episode, we talked about like a bunch of other shit for most of the time. But I'm just saying this now so that if we do a reshuffle, it's not lost that I think this deserves its spot right now.
Yeah, I think it deserves 4. But it's like the thing I was talking about at the beginning where like it's a lot closer to a movie like an old or like an international movie than it is to a lot of the movies and what inspired a lot of the movies on this list.
Yeah.
But I think 4 is good.
Okay. So that
or
means
5 is good, sorry.
Silence, the first Adam Driver movie of the month, which is actually an Andrew Garfield movie, kind of. Silence at number 5, below Shiva Baby, above West Side Story. So next week is BlacKkKlansman. Next episode is BlacKkKlansman.
Yep.
I'm excited for that one, actually.
Yeah, it's good.
So I think it'll be
Our
good.
first Spike Lee movie.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was directed by Spike Lee until the credits rolled, and then I was like, of course it was directed by Spike Lee. That was a very Spike Lee movie. Yeah, Silence, good movie. I recommend it, but I don't know who I recommend it to.
Yeah.
But
if someone was like, I'm thinking about watching Silence, I'd be like, you should.
Yeah. If you're thinking about watching it, I'd say watch it. If you mostly watch like Iron Man
and Hannah Montana.
Yeah. If you watch Iron Man and Hannah Montana, do not watch this movie. You'll hate it.
Anyway, just remember.
Are you wrapping up my episode?
Anyway, just remember, dinosaurs aren't real.
Yep.
And divorce, we're still kind of jury's out on that one too.
And you'll get our opinion on racism next week.
Anyway.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We look forward to talking to you next episode.
Adam's got some bad opinions on racism.
Oh,
Bye.
I'm cutting that one out.